welcome to the third episode of Embracing Human Experience podcast that I've started with Mugdha. Mugdha is the founder and CEO of iThrive. So what we are going to talk about in this episode is how the human body is such an important machine, how intelligent it is, and what are the functions of human body, how it allows us, how it facilitates our connection with the universal source or the universal consciousness or the divine feminine that you always talk about, and how without these bodies functioning at their optimal level or at the peak level, we won't be able to experience those things. Yeah. So it's going to be a very interesting episode from here on. I will take a back seat and Mugdha is going to talk more about this because she is an expert functional nutritionist. She deals with body, she heals people through their body's dysfunction. So Mugdha, coming back to...
But why it's going to be interesting here on? What do you think was bad about the last two episodes? I think even the last two ones were pretty interesting only. Yeah. I think every episode that we're shooting and like as we prepare before the shoot, when we discuss, okay, let's talk about this today, I start thinking, wow, I wish I had someone to listen to when I was like on my own journey. I wish somebody was making this kind of stuff and this kind of content out there. So I'm glad. So the last two ones were interesting as well, and so is this one going to be. And thank you for the expert tag. I don't think I'm expert at all.
Okay, all our episodes are going to be interesting. Our listeners are requested to keep watching us, keep following us.
Yeah, and if you have any specific topics, because we do have a list of topics, we do have our ideas based on our own journey and our own experience of life as a human being. But if there are areas that you guys are struggling with, or you want a little deeper insight, could be anything, right? From psychedelics to meditation techniques to detoxification methods to spirituality, could be anything, to alien invasions. Send in your questions to CEO@iThrive.com, and I'm sure we'll get around to answering them.
Definitely, because all these questions which are coming from the audience will give us a lot of insight. What are the topics which are like
people are struggling with.
Yeah. And this will also give us an idea. Maybe we don't know a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like we don't know everything.
We don't at all.
We don't know everything. So let's start with the body part. Like the body is supposed to be, as you always say, body is highly intelligent machine. Then what happens? What we do to that intelligent machine so that it starts misbehaving? Like all these diseases.
It doesn't really. I don't think it's misbehaving. I think it's just telling you that hey, things are not right? So even to call it misbehavior is then to kind of diminish its intelligence personally, I think. If we regard it as a highly intelligent bio machine, then there's no misbehavior. There might be glitches, but those glitches are also happening because of your choices, and those glitches are actually indicators to you that there's a dissonance between you and your body. But okay, why does that, coming back to that question of why does that happen? See, the body, it operates very, very intelligently, and its requirements are actually very little. For the amount of intelligence it displays in taking care of you on a day-to-day basis, whether it's your heart beating blood, pumping blood to go to every organ, every limb, like including my vocal cords right now so that I can speak, or whether it's like regulating your breath in a way that you're not even thinking about your breath, or whether it's your brain firing neurons so that thoughts can become coherent and become like language. It's doing so many things without you giving one thought to it, right? So it does extremely complex. So there's a super complex filtration mechanism, which is your lymphatic system, your kidney, all of that. There's a super complex, like these concrete mixers and
protecting mechanism.
Protective, I'm not even like, but even if you look at the liver, right? It's taking raw material, it's mixing them, and it's creating something new only. It's like a production factory altogether. Your cells are creating energy all the time. Then there's the immune system, which is like incredible. I don't even know how he has, the system has so much intelligence to protect you against all sorts of threats that are there on this planet.
Exactly.
And then there are your cognitive skills.
And then there are your
reproductive system. You can create life. You can create another human being inside your body without having to think on an everyday basis. Today I'm making the spine of my baby, today I'm making the brain. Nothing, no one's thinking it. Like all it needs is again the sperm to fertilize, finish, then the body takes over, right? Then there is your entire emotional processing system that's happening in your body. Then there's the trauma storage and processing system. There's the ability to give you peak spiritual experiences. So there's so much your body is doing. All that it needs is food, which is raw material, air so that it can function, water, which is again raw material for all of these things to happen, and sunlight exposure and movement and like just space to be, right? Like it has to feel safe. That's all.
So in fact, you did some experiment like a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
You were on a chlorophyll water, and you said, "I'm going to be a plant. I'm just going to take chlorophyll and the basic supplements and sunlight and water." So how does that work? Like, is it possible, really possible to do all those kind of things?
I don't know, Avinash. There are breatharians on this planet. Like they claim to just live on air, like breath and nothing else. But Johan actually has disputed that, and he's actually so apparently they're like big time frauds and scamsters, including like even going to a degree of perversion. There are cases of sexual abuse against them and all of that. So I don't know if it's possible. Maybe someone's doing it and we don't know about them. But I've not yet reached a state where I can be off food completely.
There are lots of references even in our ancient texts, like Rishi Muni doing sadhana for hundreds of years and not eating. And there must be some truth or some.
There must be some truth to it, and there must be a certain way, and maybe the environment at that time supported it, right? Like now there are so many toxins. Like to deal with those toxins and help your body detox, you need protein, you need all your vitamins, you need your minerals, you need all the herbs and all of that, right? So if your environment
as we are going away from the nature or the natural habitat,
we need more support system. Your body needs more
energy systems so that it can function at optimal level.
Yeah, and even then, I don't think anyone's body is truly optimal in today's times. Like we are just kind of trying to make it our best, right? But that's all it needs, right? Like if you're living an urban life, not in the hunter-gatherer mode where you're in like deep forest like that guy. Who is that guy who eats wild stuff? Bear Grylls. Yeah. If you're not him, if you're just like a regular person, like someone living in the cities in India or even abroad, and you just want to get through your day with peak energy without like disturbances happening in your body, then the right kind of food, water, sunlight exposure, hydration, minimal exposure to EMFs, and supplementation where your food can't give you the nutrients you need. And I think that's like enough to take care of most people.
Yeah, you mentioned some time back about this, entire cognitive function or the emotional system inside.
Yeah.
So that requires lots of energy or lots of micronutrients or minerals, or in fact we call peptides and protein molecules and amino acid. So there is a lot of talk about getting into veganism and getting into vegetarianism and all sorts of food that we are talking about, the food groups itself. So if you keep the emotions or the ethics aside, you only have to look at the food groups. Okay, this is the food group which gives me the most micronutrient dense food. So where do you fit this, evolving nature of humans? Like we were hunter-gatherer at one point of time, then we learned how to light a fire, we started cooking the food. So is it like we are learning to deal with the new kind of inputs which are coming to us? Like we invented fire, so we started cooking. Otherwise we were eating raw food and we were okay with that.
Maybe, we don't know how many people might have died of raw food poisoning.
So now all these things which are coming, like for example this water we drink, is RO water, like it's supposed to be safe, but it's sterile, it doesn't carry any mineral, and we have to take supplementation of those minerals. So like this evolution of humans along with the technology or along with that thing, where is it going to take us? Like is it going to optimize our body for maximum functioning, or it is making us slave of all this modern technology that we are talking about?
Yeah, I think, industrialization, technology, that does serve its purpose in human evolution, right? For example, washing machines made our lives easier. Like I don't have to spend 2 hours washing clothes, and those 2 hours can be dedicated to me using my brain to kind of do better things with my time, right? Instead of washing clothes. So yes, technology, industrialization, globalization does bring about a certain degree in how we operate as humans, but this is the downfall of it, right? Like our water supply gets contaminated, our air gets contaminated, and then we have to do extra stuff to kind of mitigate those effects. Now there's so much radiation in our environment, right? EMFs, 5G and all that. all in the name of technology, all in the name of improving our life.
Exactly.
But then our body bears the brunt of it.
Yeah.
So no one's really like all these Silicon Valley techies and all these people who are like all about AI and machine learning and like faster and faster networks and like Neuralink and Elon Musk sending satellites into space to create a grid so that we get more internet. None of them understand that there is always a price to be paid. So when we say humans are upgrading themselves through technology, the human body actually ends up paying the price for that upgrade, and then we have to take it.
More, dependent on
Yeah.
the technology or the system,
You become dependent on the technology.
and your actually brain size shrinks.
Maybe
because you're
your
not able
brain,
to
yeah.
use-
Like I remember, like my brain, right? I know that like in college I could remember all my friends' landline
numbers,
numbers.
right?
None of us had cell phones. We all had landlines. But I remembered all their numbers. I could just pick up that phone and like just dial, and I knew everyone's numbers, my friends, my family members, my aunts, my uncles. Now I don't even remember your number. When I travel to Bombay or when I'm like going out of Pune alone, then I'm like, okay, if I have to call Avinash in an emergency, what is his number if my phone goes out of battery?
I am grateful you're a celebrity, so I have to remember your number because a lot of
Okay,
people
thank
keep asking for it.
Alright, I don't know if I'm a celebrity or not, but basically my brain, like it's not keeping any energy parked for things like remembering numbers, which I'm sure was a cognitive function at some point of time. It's just gone now. So that's about it, and I think this entire vegan vegetarian agenda, right? It's really humanity being misled because someone's profiting out of it. You look at the number of plant-based meat companies that are coming up. You look
Yeah.
at the number of meat alternative companies that are coming up. They wouldn't exist if someone wasn't looking for those options, right? And that is like literally generating profit for big agriculture and mass corporations, just because humans have been convinced that going vegan or remaining to be vegetarian is a more ethical thing to do, or it's going to protect the planet from climate change. This planet has been, guys, this planet is way more ancient than any human being ever. People who make you think that it's overpopulated and there are too many humans. I know of people who don't have children because they think that the planet is like overcrowded. How much of the planetary mass do we occupy as humans?
It's less than 0.1%.
Less than 0.1%. Okay, that's the amount of planetary mass that humans occupy. And climate on this planet, you can go watch Greg Braden's videos where he's actually spoken of the solar cycle and how Earth has gone through multiple solar cycles where weather has gone up, like the temperature is overall gone
There
up.
has been ice age, and there have been volcanoes, and there have been asteroid strikes, and so many
And
things,
climate
so many
change
things.
people, for the last 20 years, have said in the next 5 years, the Earth is going to be submerged under the oceans. So 20 years ago, they said in the next 5 years, we are still here. We have not died. So it's another agenda, but
Yeah, exactly. All
yeah.
these agendas, like when you want to make sense of why we are here on this planet or what is our purpose, like a lot of people struggle with finding their own purpose. Like they have those existential crisis.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? So all these things that you mentioned about having an agenda, or that start making sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what you're supposed to do is to cut through this
Cut
bullshit.
through that bullshit. Like use your discernment to go beyond what's being told to you. And see, anyone is free to create any sort of agenda. But if that agenda, like, I don't care if the earth is flat or round. I honestly don't, because whether it's flat or whether it's round, it doesn't impact my day-to-day living. But if someone tells me I have to stop eating meat for climate change, that is like someone coming into my plate and that's someone trying to make changes to my physical health because of an agenda. So that is something I'm not going to put up with, right? Now, vegan diets, vegetarian diets are deficiency prone. I know this is going to trigger a lot of vegans who are listening to this, if there are vegans anymore left following us. I think in 2021 I have completely cleared my follower.
We did practice veganism for 1.5 years, right? We were vegan for
Yeah, so
and we saw the blood report, messed up blood report after that, right?
But no, that data doesn't work with vegans. So anyway, it's a diet that is prone to deficiencies. If you really
I
want
was
to
coming to that,
Yeah.
cognitive function you talk about, like
Yeah.
all these things, like the deficiency, that micronutrient deficiency,
the omega-3 deficiency, the DHA deficiency.
because of the kind of food choices you make, it is going to impact your cognitive ability. So it's very difficult to discern between, okay, this is
It's
good or
difficult
bad.
to discern also. See, when your vegan or when you're vegetarian, your brain is not getting the nutrients you need, right? So one is cognition is also about like, okay, your intellectual capacity, your ability to think, but your brain is also involved in your day-to-day mood and reactionary response. Like I teach this in the stress module in the academy, right? Like how you react to circumstances, what triggers you, what your response is to stress is largely determined by the brain structures. Now, if the brain structures are deficient in the raw material that's needed to, mount an appropriate response, you are going to have pretty dysfunctional response. And I've seen most vegans are very, very angry people. It doesn't take much to trigger them. I used to be angry when I was vegan, right? Like I used to be angry against the system itself, but I would be in the state of irritability, state of annoyance, especially if I wasn't supplementing, right? Like if I wasn't taking my omega-3s and my B complex and my vitamin D, if I wasn't supplementing heavily, my brain would be this irritable, either irritable or the other extreme of spiritually bypassing. Like everything is love and light, that jo ho raha hai, it's okay, just floating around, like, right? So either that state or this extremely hypervigilant, high state of arousal in terms of wanting to constantly get into the fight or flight mode. So it's humans need meat, humans need animal protein, humans need omega-3, especially the ones that come from seafood. That's how we've really evolved over time.
Exactly. So like we talked about functions, the micronutrient requirement and what kind of agenda is going around, like which can actually question some of your existential being itself. Okay, what are your spiritual being is supposed to do on this planet, or how your emotional being is going to navigate through this dense 3D world, because it's so light and so energy driven. So what are the common, now we are going to focus only on the body part, like we'll cover all these aspects in our subsequent episode, but what are the dysfunctions that you have observed because of this micronutrient deficiency or the food choices that we make? Like you have been working with like thousands of patients and we work on reversing chronic diseases, like
but like so now we've identified like at least 158, 160 different diseases that we work with, right? And post the vaccine, though the number of dysfunctions is going up because things that we never... We're not even seeing, like we can't even call it we can't even give it a label because it's just a cluster of random symptoms that are happening to people. Thankfully, we have advanced tests, so we can peek in and we can see what's going on, right? Like even the US test that we've collaborated with. But so I don't even know how many diseases we are treating now, but the common thing, right? So what we've seen is if people are eating a seed oil dependent diet, like they're using a lot of vegetable oils and that for cooking, it's definitely leading to type 2 diabetes. And there is inflammation in the body. So even inflammatory kind of diseases, right? Like the pains and aches and all of that. For people who eat a very high mustard oil dependent diet, we're seeing a lot of neurological issues, and I keep telling you that mustard gas has something to do with mustard oil, but you're a chemical engineer, so
I beg too deep. Mustard gas is something different.
But it's called mustard gas. I'm sure someone figured out that mustard oil was causing neurological issues, so this gas that we've created that's going to cause nerve damage, let's call it mustard gas, I'm sure.
So, I mean, what I have observed is insulin resistance is one common across. Then fatty liver is very common. Fatty liver,
insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, thyroid issues. Inflammation is overall in the body, right? But so many people with thyroid dysfunction because they're not getting the nutrients that the thyroid needs, which is iodine, selenium, protein, B complex, zinc, copper, iron, all of this. Then we see a lot of people with IBS and gut issues because they're eating the wrong kind of food, right? They're eating a whole wheat sandwich thinking it's healthy because it's whole brown bread, whole wheat is marketed as healthy.
In fact, brown bread has more sugar than the white bread.
I don't care about the sugar. That thing is horrible for your gut. So people eat gluten, they eat rotis because they think rice is bad. Then they'll be eating all this soy, tofu, and all these healthy things that generally have a healthy low, actually which are horrible for your gut. So we see a lot of people.
We should do one episode on this one.
Gut only.
What is the healthy foods and healthy...
You know what we should do? We should go to a store and pick up different packets and we should read ingredients. I don't know, like that will be the last time we visit that store because they'll kick us out after that. But maybe we should do because...
food label and finding out which is healthy and what is not healthy.
Food horrors. Yes,
we can do that.
let's do that. But a lot of stuff that's marketed as healthy, or like, big companies, big agriculture makes you think it's healthy. Like kids who are eating all of these dirty dabba wala breakfast cereals, those ruin your gut, right? So people come to us with gut issues because they're eating the wrong kind of food. Then women come to us with PCOD, PCOS issues. Again, those are often driven by deficiencies or insulin resistance or infections or even by toxins. So all these sanitary napkins, the sanitary pads, all these feminine care products, the hygiene washes,
and your hair
they are
wash.
so bad for the reproductive system, right? So we get so many diseases we get, right? But then when we start doing the analysis, when we look at their blood tests, when we create their health report, we call it iThrive's health report. When we do that, we see it's usually deficiencies, inflammation because of a variety of things, insulin resistance because of lots of seed oils, and then infections come up, and then toxin load comes up, and then of course stress is there as a root cause for a lot of people, like the adrenal dysfunction or the oxidative stress in the body itself, and that needs a different regimen. But this is what we've seen. Now what does that mean? What do all these different diseases mean, right? It basically means that your body is not able to function the way it's supposed to on a day-to-day basis, right? So that dysfunctional body, and you work with so many people like this embracing the human experience work we do, right? Tell me what do they tell us when they come to us, right? Like the body is not functioning well.
Exactly.
They have some disease or something. What happens to them? What are the symptoms of a body being dysfunctional?
So a lot of things, like they're not able to do even the basic things, like getting up in the morning is a task, and
Right.
doing through your daily chores is a problem. So what these guys do, they resort to biohacks, like take caffeine or nicotine or even some cases alcohol to just get through their day and function the way society expects them to function without their body actually supporting it. Even I am a runner, like I run marathons and do ultra cycling. I have seen people keep running in spite of their body is not into that mode or that shape or that functioning ability. They keep doing it, they push themselves, and at some point it is going to collapse. The body is going to reject. The body is going to say, okay, enough is enough, I am not going to support you anymore. So all these biohacks are again temporary. So what people are not able to do on a day-to-day basis, and also this special kind of things, like you want to run, you want to play with your kids, you want to experience life in a different way, you want to go trekking, you want to do cycling, you want to learn new hobby, your cognitive function is not happening. Since your body is not in that shape to do that.
This is one, right? Not being able to do things, but I also have seen people who kind of hate themselves because they're waking up in pain, they have aches and pains, even like things like having a good clean bowel movement is not happening, or they have so much gas and bloating or diarrhea, like that IBS kind of a thing where they're so afraid of eating food and being in office and all of that, that they actually start hating their existence itself because they feel that their body is not supporting them. So I've seen that, I identify it as a self-hate and existential angst. They don't have these big fancy words, right? But basically what they're feeling is ki, why me? Why is this happening? And like my life is messed and I'm like ruined, and like, just that migraines, for example, right? People who have migraines, it's horrible to like get through the day once a migraine attack happens, and they don't really see this life is meant to be a celebration. It's a very delicious experience to have, to be a human being. Of course there's heartbreak, and of course there's pain that happens. That's part of the experience, right? Now in all of this, your growth and evolution is supposed to happen through all of these experiences, but your body has to be there to support you and stabilize you through all of this. People who lose their body's functionality then can't even deal with the other things that come at them. Like life keeps throwing things at you, right? Life's never going to stop. It's a flow that's going on, and whatever is meant to come to you as an experience, it's going to come in that flow. And it's your body that really determines that when that flow comes, are you able to navigate? Are you able to move? Are you able to ride the wave, right? Like, are you able to ride the wave and continue with the flow? Or are you going to be like this thing that's stuck in the flow and that's just getting hit against the banks of a river and like just going all over the place? And a lot of people whose body doesn't support them and is not grounded and is not strong and stable actually experience just getting thrown around, right? And it's not fun to live like that. It's really not. I mean, who would want to live like that, right? Like just like flotsam in water.
So we are going to talk about mind in our subsequent episode, but a lot of people have come to us, they only want to work on their mind healing part
Yeah, and I don't
without
know.
working on the body, and we have seen it doesn't work.
It doesn't.
We tried, right? We have told them several times, work on your body, only mind healing or spiritual awakening is of no use, it is not going to support.
It's like just a very like seriously lazy bullshit approach, okay? I mean, I don't mince my words ever with anyone. But if you say that, oh no, I just want spirituality and I just want to kind of work on my ego and my intellect and all of that, my body, to no, I will reject you as a cat. So that's why even this program that we have is a buy, invite, buy application only. I want to see someone who's committed to like take the right actions for the body, because that requires discipline, that requires consistency. If you don't have that, there is no way you're really going to be able to do good work with your mind and your consciousness and your spiritual connection and your emotions. So no, like
yeah,
like
lot of this requires kind of visualization, lot of this requires application of mind, lot of this required to look inwards.
It requires a warrior-like approach. You have to be a warrior to be able to do this work of evolution and growth, right? And if you're unwilling to work on the base of that, which is your body, what even gives you the moral authority to say that you want to work on your mind? I am very clear about that.
And it didn't work. We tried. It's not that we didn't.
I didn't even want to try, but I like sometimes I kind of say, okay, let me see if maybe I'm wrong, and I wasn't wrong. So yeah, I don't want to do that only anymore. You work on your body, show that commitment for a couple of weeks, and then we start working on the other areas of your life, right? That's why even today's episode, when we started, it's about the body. Like, you guys have to understand this, that you could be talking about alien invasions, you could be talking about the matrix control system, you could be talking about chemtrails, you could be talking
about EMFs,
or you could be talking about the world takeover by this
all
agendas. But if you're unwilling to see what you're doing to your, like if you're drinking also at the same time, if you're just smoking up all the time and eating garbage, no, you won't be able to make too much of a change. Yeah, so like listen to what I'm saying. Like, if you really want to bring about dramatic change in this world, you start with your body first.
So that's all about the episode today. Was about body, understanding how it functions, what are the micronutrients, and how it impacts not only your body functioning, it also impacts the mind and the cognitive ability, and your purpose itself on this planet may not be clear to you unless your body is in that shape. So thank you very much for listening to us. Keep watching us, keep joining us in the next episode. We are going to delve deeper into the mind aspect. We are going to talk about the spirituality, the way no one has spoken about it, the way we experience it, and we want all of you to experience this.
Yes, I am so looking forward to continued episodes of this podcast. But work on your bodies, guys, because once your body's dysfunctions are created, that's when you really get the energy to work on your mind and everything. Otherwise, if your body doesn't support you, you can't do the work you're here for. The design that, like, whatever your consciousness was created for, your soul, to fulfill your soul's purpose, your body is the key. Okay, so work on your body, and we will talk. So we are not just being like very gyanny about it and saying work on your body, right? I will talk of tools from nutrition to diet to embodiment practices to breath work. We will bring about those concepts, but just be open to the idea that it starts with the body.
Right. Thank you, Mugdha. Thank you so much.
Alright, see you next week again, and looking forward to speaking about the mind then.